everyone, it's Kat and I'm back today to review the new-ish Maybelline Superstay 30-Hour Wear Lumi Matte Foundation. Now, I didn't even know this existed, but a commenter of mine asked me if I'd tried it or if I could review it. I saw it half price, which is very, very reasonable in Australia at Chemist Warehouse, and I picked it up and I have been using this for about a month now on and off. But I'm finally getting to do the sort of full 12-hour wear test today. So the way I do these wear tests, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the foundation, what the claims are. I'm going to show you me applying it, and then I'm going to check back in throughout the day and wear it for at least 12 hours. Now this is 30-hour wear. I'm not going to test it for 30 hours. I'm sure some would be lasting after 30 hours, but that's just ridiculous. But I think 12 hours is what I sort of expect from a foundation in a normal day. Bit of background for me, if you don't know who I am Kat. I am 38 years old. When it comes to my skin, I have oily combination skin, so I get an oily T-zone. So I do want something that's sort of set and long lasting so that doesn't break down throughout the day. I also get a lot of redness in my face, so I want something with enough coverage to even that out. But I also often get dehydration and little fine lines, so I want something that gives me a little bit of luminosity and glow, not too set and dry and like desert looking. So I do want that unicorn of a foundation, and if I can get it in a drugstore price point, I am going to be thrilled. So let's get on to the claims of the foundation. On the Maybelline Australia website, this says that it is a breathable foundation that delivers up to 30 hours of light as air coverage that feels super comfortable on the skin. The lightweight, long-wearing formula is infused with amino acids to deliver a matte finish with a hint of luminosity. The flexible film resists water, sweat, and transfer for all-day shine control. Sounds like an absolute dream. So we're looking for long-lasting, light as air coverage, a luminous matte look, up to 30 hours of wear, and sweat, water, and transfer resistant. Now I'm going to tell you it's a hot day. I have a sweat mustache going on, so I am testing that. It doesn't specify the coverage, but when you look at how to apply it, it does say shake well before use, apply 1 to 2 pumps to clean, hydrated skin. Blend with foundation brush, fingers, or a beauty sponge to even out complexion. And then if needed, apply more foundation for extra buildable coverage. So it doesn't say it's a light coverage, it's a medium coverage, or a high coverage. It's sort of one of those adaptable ones based on how much you apply. In Australia, this has been released in 20 shades. I don't believe there were 20 shades at Chemist Warehouse when I bought this. I'll insert a photo. It was pretty dire and I couldn't actually shade match. There were no testers available. I will update on the screen how many are in the US. There's usually a bigger range. But when I went to Chemist Warehouse, I don't believe there were 20 shades. I think that this was the second lightest, which my shade is 108. But according to the website, this is the 4th lightest available in Australia. Let's cut to me applying this. All right, it is 7:45 in the morning and I am starting the wear test. On my face, I have my skincare. I applied my skincare about 45 minutes ago. So this is mainly just sunscreen and doing whatever it wants to do. I'm going to apply this half my face with a brush and half my face with a sponge so we can see how they differ. Got one pump here. I've got the Real Techniques sculpting brush, which is not a foundation brush, but whatever. And you can see that it is a bit lighter than my skin, but it does match my neck really well. So if I put some there, it's pretty good. So I'm just gonna continue with it. It was kind of hard to color match in store because there were no testers. Okay, there's a little bit of streakiness. Let's get closer. So when I just swipe the brush, there's a little bit of streakiness, but just with little dabs, it goes away very quickly. So quite easy to apply this one. Dab, 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 dab. Really pretty. Nice amount of coverage, just with a light layer, and it does feel quite light. Covers everything that I don't like. So I've got a lot of redness, a few blemishes and whatnot. It's completely gone, but it doesn't look blanked out skin and horrible. I've got a damp sponge and I've got another pump. The consistency is quite liquidy, so it's quite a thin foundation. It's not like a serum watery foundation, but in terms of your standard liquids, it is on the runnier side. This is giving me much sheerer coverage, which This is probably what I'd like just on the daily, and then if I was going out I want a little bit more. Because it's so runny, it has been soaked up by the sponge, so I've just got another half a pump just for my forehead. But this applies really nicely, so again, it's not patchy. Just trying to maneuver my hairline. Again, this is a lighter coverage. This is a slightly more medium coverage. It just comes down to the application method. I like them both. So getting up close, again, you can see a bit of hydration left. It's probably from my skincare, but it's not matting it down, if that makes sense. When I touch it, so this is set, there's a bit of dewiness to it. It doesn't feel greasy or slippery, but there is a bit of hydration, which is nice. Skin is looking really healthy. It's not really settling into fine lines at the moment. I can get foundation sort of settling around these areas. So I'm going to keep my makeup fairly minimal today so I don't lose the effect and overpower it. But I will put just a little touch of concealer here where I've got a little bit of darkness and a little bagginess. I'm going to set a little bit in my T-zone. I'm going to probably leave from here out unset just so we can see how it works on its own. But I like it. So I'll be back with makeup. Back with my makeup done. Everything is looking quite flawless. The morning light is helping a lot, but everything is sitting really nicely. I've done a really subtle blush with a bit of shimmer in it and no highlighter. So that's a little bit of glow from the blush, but I just thought it kept with the sort of vibe. So there's a glowiness you can see here. I did set my nose and my chin and my under eyes with a translucent setting powder because those are my sort of oily problem areas. But everything is looking so smooth. We'll just turn the brightness down so we can get into like the nitty gritty details. But I think this looks gorgeous. Look how nice everything looks. Bit of movement creasing, but that's fine. That's just my face. Looks really lovely. So everything's sitting really nicely over the makeup. The makeup feels beautifully inset. Even the side bits aren't feeling like too dewy, but they look really nice. So we're at the 2-hour mark now, and this is looking stunning. I will get closer. I do have a sweat mustache. I did run to the shops and it is very muggy and hot today, but otherwise everything is looking really, really, really beautiful. This does feel quite lightweight to me. I don't feel like there's nothing on my skin, but it doesn't feel sort of heavy and thick. So let's get up close and personal at the 2-hour mark. Is this close enough for you? Look, let's see. Let's actually stay this close and see how we go. It's not emphasizing fine lines. It's not necessarily minimizing pores, but it's definitely not making anything worse. It's sticking to my nose. Hooray. I love this. It's great. Okay, we're over 7 hours in. I'm looking a bit disheveled. I don't think it's my base's fault. I think it's my hair's fault. Okay, I think everything looks good. So definitely cheeks look nice. Forehead is still really set. So this is quite matte still. So I think when you powder, so I powdered just slightly here, it does mattify this quite a lot. There's less coverage here, so I'm seeing some stuff peeking through, but that's the sponge side. I think this is a much sort of, the brush gives a better amount of coverage if that's what you're after. I am getting some oil breakthrough and breaking down on my chin and a little bit of sweat breakdown on my top lip, but it's not a big deal. A little bit of oil breakdown around my nose. But again, at the 7 hours, it's totally fine. If I wanted this to be perfect, I have no doubt that I could just blot a little bit, get a tiny bit more foundation on a sponge, just touch it up slightly, but everything's looking really nice. All right, it's just after 8 o'clock. So this is 12 hours wear, nearly 12 and a half. It is actually beautiful. In the mirror, this area looks perfection, stunning. This area is looking a tiny bit dry, wearing off a little bit, but very nice. So I'm back for the conclusion of what I think about this foundation. Now, I did wear this for over 12 hours. It looked beautiful. I was pleasantly surprised. I went to take off my makeup and jump in the shower, and I was like, it is a shame to take off my makeup. It is wearing so nicely. So I think this is an absolute fantastic foundation. I'm really, really impressed. Do I think it lives up to the claims? I definitely think that it's a long wearing foundation. I do think that it wore very nicely with my oily T-zone, with my sweatiness. I didn't wear it delicately. It was a hot day. I was doing stuff. I was working. I was looking after the kids. And it still wore really, really beautifully. There was some wear around my mouth, my chin, around my nose slightly, but it really wasn't that noticeable in person and sort of from a slight distance. Like you have to get really up close to scrutinize it. And even then that would have been so easy to touch up and powder. So I think this was really, really lovely. One thing I did notice was that on my forehead where I do have drier skin and I did slightly powder, I found that it did look a little bit dry at the end of the day. So I do think this is one of those adaptable foundations. If you want a dewier base, just prep it with more moisturizer or like a moisturizing primer. Avoid powdering it if you can. If you have really, really oily skin and you want it to be more matte, adapt it. Use a gripping base and set it with a powder. The finish of this and how it sort of looks on your skin, I believe, is how you prep it and how you set it. So that's totally up to you. So it does mean that pretty much most skin types could use this. I think if you're the driest of the dry, because this is still a Lumi matte sort of finish, I probably wouldn't recommend it. It's probably too dry. And then if you are super, super, super oily, again, you need to be really careful of how you prep it and set it. But otherwise, I think for most people, this is really, really fantastic. This is not over illuminating. So it's not one of those foundations that have a lot of shimmer in it that make you look really shiny. I do find that, again, unset, this does give a bit of some hydration. Not hydration that will make you worry that your base will slide off or you touch it and it transfers. But it does, there is some moisture to it, which is really nice. And this was quite lightweight feeling. It wasn't undetectable on the skin, but it was very pleasant to wear. It's nice to wear on a hot day. It's a really hot day today. It's going to be 34 degrees Celsius. I'm wearing this. It feels really comfortable. And I know it looks really good. So I am all for this. This is one of those adaptable foundations that you can apply a very small amount, or you can apply, like you can sort of build it up. I prefer using this with a brush because I find that it gives me the sort of coverage that I want on a daily basis. I find that this is sort of too runny. The sponge, even if it's a wet sponge, it does absorb a lot of the product, but I really like it. And I think for the price, this is going to become my daily foundation. I think I got this around 17 Australian dollars on sale, which if you're in Australia, don't buy your drugstore makeup full price ever. There's always 30, 40, 50% off. I've got combination skin where some areas need some assistance, other areas need other assistance. This wore beautifully, and this is not my first experience with it. So I have had this for a little while. I haven't scrutinized how it wore, but I have worn this on sort of long work days, and I just noticed that I didn't have to touch up my base. Even though I do my makeup at like 7:30 in the morning and get home like after dinner, I just will go into the bathroom, do my thing, and then go, oh, everything looks good. Let's keep going. Reapply a lip and let's keep going. So the fact that this is one that you don't have to worry about on a long day, game changer. And at this price point, fantastic. So I'm really happy with it. It is probably my favorite foundation of the year, and one that once I use up a few of my other foundations, I'm just going to keep using this because why not? It works. It looks great. It's affordable. And yeah, the thing that I think is probably an issue is the shade range. That's probably my biggest hindrance about it, but otherwise it's great. A big thank you to the commenter who asked me if I'd tried this and what my thoughts were, because it got me to buy it. And I really like it. So well done, Maybelline. You've brought out a great foundation. Oh, one thing I do want to mention though, is when I first bought this, I thought this was a twist lid. You pull it off like that, because I actually sort of broke the packaging a little bit by trying to twist it off. It's just a pull cap. It's very simple. There we go. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.